Hey everyone, I hope all is well and I hope you're all finding a way to make it through this crazy thing we call life. In my previous video, we read through some vital points from two books. The first one being Proceedings of the Royal Irish Academy, Polite Literature and Antiquities, Volume 2, published in 1879. I then went on to read a chapter from the book Origins of the Anglo-Saxon Race. We started reading from chapter 7, which is titled Our Darker Forefathers. The author in this book suggests that people of darker complexion may have migrated to England alongside the Anglo-Saxons and Danes. The author presents evidence of darker-skinned populations, such as the Wends from Germany and Norwegians with brunette features, contributing to the genetic makeup of England. The author then further discusses the implications of colour-based surnames and place names in England, suggesting that they may reflect the presence of darker or brown-skinned people among early settlers. So in conclusion, both books that we read in my previous video highlighted the historical presence of darker-skinned populations in Ireland and England, challenging the conventional narratives about the ethnic makeup of those regions. In this video, I will be focusing on colour-based names and the origin of popular surnames still used to this day. I did touch on this lightly at the end of my previous video, but I stopped myself as I wanted time to really get into this because a few weeks ago, I actually made a TikTok on this subject, but it was completely out of context and a bit too out there for some people. People took it all wrong and was accusing me of wanting to be white or that I was denying my African heritage. But what people need to learn is that not all melanated people have direct ancestry to Africa. What we was taught about slavery is all wrong, and I promise you I will get into that in future videos. You just have to remember that darker skinned people were the first to inhabit this world. The out of Africa theory was invented to throw us off and to also demise our power and presence we had on this earth. It was also invented so we would forget who we are and forget our true bloodlines. Before we get into this book, let's just read this very famous passage from Benjamin Franklin, written in 1751, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in this world is proportionably very small. All Africa is black or tawny, Asia chiefly tawny, America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also. The Saxons only excepted, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased. All right, I'm going to stop there. A lot of people will see this and say to me, look, he just said that the Saxons were white and so were the English. But yeah, I see that. But what he says here is that the Saxons and the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. He didn't mention here that all Saxons and English were white. He clearly means that from his personal experience in his lifetime and the English people that he has met personally make up the principal body of white people. It's also funny how people will be quick to debunk you after seeing one statement that they found, even though there's heaps and heaps of endless evidence that proves otherwise. And on that note, let's get to the actual point of this video. As I said before, we will be diving into colour-based surnames and the origins of them. And we will be continuing to read from the book, The Origin of the Anglo-Saxon Race. So to carry on from my previous video, the author discussed how colour-based surnames and place names may have originated from the complexion of original settlers. For instance, the surname Brown likely came from the Anglo-Saxon word brun, meaning brown, and it's believed that people were given this name to describe their brown complexion. The author cites references to people named Brun in Anglo-Saxon literature and notes similar names in ancient Germany. They also mention place names like Bruningefeld, which supports the idea that brunettes were common in those areas. Now let's get into it and read this paragraph. It's not probable that people who were originally designated by the colour names brown, black, grey, or the like gave themselves these names. they most likely received them from others. The evidence concerning brown people in England during the Anglo-Saxon period, which can be derived from the place name Brun, is supplemented by that supplied in at least some of the old place names beginning with Dun and Dunning. Dun is an Old English word denoting colour partaking of brown and black, and where it occurs at the beginning of the word in such a combination as Dunningland, it is possible that it refers to brown people or their children rather than to the Anglo-Celtic word dun for a hill or fortified place. All right, so reading that paragraph there made me think of the name Duncan. Let's see if the name Duncan is linked to the word done. And look at what we have here. It literally just means done. So let's read this. And I'm going to say this in simpler terms. The name Duncan likely comes from Gaelic origins. The Gaelic word dun means brown or dark, and keen meaning head. I don't know if I pronounced that properly. Duncan could mean brown-haired or dark-haired. Alternatively, it may have come from Old Irish or Old Gaelic, Doncad, which means brown warrior. The term dun, which means dingy brown or dark-coloured, may also be related, and its link to surnames like Dunn, Dune, Don, Dunning, etc. Interesting. And if you check the House of Names, which is a website that holds all the family coats of arms from the British Isles and more, it says the name Duncan comes from the Gaelic Doncad, Donca, Doncad, and others, which literally means brown warrior. Ancestors of the first family to use this name Duncan lived among the Pictish people of ancient Scotland. And here are some other variations on how Duncan is spelt. Do you know anyone called Duncan or have the second name Dunn? I do. And I know a few white people with the second name too. Maybe they might have some brown skin ancestors. All right, now to the next page. The consideration of the evidence that the people of brunette complexions were among the Anglo-Saxon settlers in England leads on that of people of a still darker hue, a dark black or brown black settlers. Probably there must have been some of these among the Anglo-Saxons, for we meet the personal names Blackman, Bleakman, Blackanan, Blackerman, Blacksunu, Bleska, and Blackman in various documents of the period. Blekaka, don't know if I said that right, was an ealdorman of Lindsey who was converted by Paulinus. Bliskman was the son of Elric or Edric, a descendant of Ida, ancestor of Eilred, king of Bernicia, and so on. The same kind of evidence is met with among the oldest place names. Blackmanburg is mentioned in an Anglo-Saxon character. Blackmainstone was the name of a place in Dorset, and Blackmenestone that of a place in Kent. Blackshale and Blackenhale are doomsday names of places in Somerset, and Blackingeli occurs in the Domesday Record of Surrey. The name Blackermany occurs in the Hertfordshire Survey and Blackeen in Lincoln. Among the earliest names of the same kind in the charters, we find Blackenden in Hants and Blackandon in Dorset. The places called Blackenmainstone in Dorset and Blackenmenenstone in Kent were on or quite close to the coast, a circumstance which points to the settlers having come to these places by water rather than to a survival of black people of the old Celtic race having been left in them. So let's go over this paragraph one more time in basic terms, because I know I completely butchered half of those names. Honestly, that was very hard, and it might have seemed a little bit unclear. So in basic terms, the author discusses the presence of people with a darker complexion among the Anglo-Saxon settlers in England. He mentions various personal names like Blackman, Bleakman, Blackerman, and others, as well as place names like Blackmanburg and Blackermanstone. The mention of these names in historical documents and characters indicates the presence of individuals and settlements with darker skinned people. Additionally, the proximity of these settlements to the coast suggests that these settlers may have arrived by sea rather than being remnants of an ancient Celtic population. All right, let's get to the next page. There is another old word used by the Anglo-Saxons to denote black or brown, black, the word swert. The personal names Stuart and Stuart may have been derived from this word and may have originally denoted people of a dark brown or black complexion. Some names of this kind are mentioned in the Domesday Record of Buckinghamshire and Lincolnshire. These may be of Scandinavian origin, for the Eka name or nickname Swarthy is found in the Northern sagas. Halfdan the Black was the name of a king of Norway who died in 863. Okay, there's a lot to dissect here. Remember, we are questioning everything. Let's start from the end of this paragraph where the author says, there is an old word used by the Anglo-Saxons to denote black or brown black, the word swert. The personal names Stuart and Stuart may have been derived from this word. And don't you think these names sound a bit like the name Stuart or Stuart? There's a common theory that the name Stuart later developed into Stuart, spelled like this, but it actually originated from the word swert, which means black. But if you check online, it says otherwise. It says that the name Stuart was an occupational name for Stuart, for the administrative official of an estate. The Old English word is composed of the elements of stig, meaning household, and word, meaning guardian, which also makes perfect sense, as there are people in history who had these occupations with this title. So obviously I know the reality of that. But in my personal opinion, and many other people's opinions as well, to be honest, I believe that the name Stuart may have a double meaning because bear in mind, church officials and medieval scribes spelt each name as it sounded back in them days. And as a result, a single person could accumulate many different versions of his name within official records. So before the first dictionaries appeared in the last few hundred years, scribes spelled according to sound. Hence why you will see many names that look or sound very similar. And I personally believe that this could have happened. Okay, here it says that Stuart may be the origin of the Scandinavian nickname or nickname Swarthy, which automatically makes me think about Arnold Schwarzenegger. When I was younger, I used to think that his name just meant black, black. My mom said to me, his name literally means black, black, because Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I looked up the actual meaning of his name, and it literally just means black plowman. He doesn't look like a black plowman to me, but maybe he had an ancestor that was a black plowman. Question everything, guys. Okay, next question. On this last line here, the author says Halfdan the Black was the name of a king of Norway who died in 863. So who is Halfdan the Black? According to Wikipedia, Halfdan the Black, also known as Halfdanr Swarti in Old Norse in the 9th century, was a king of Vestfold, which is in Norway. He belonged to the house of Yngling, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and was the father of Harald Fairhair, the first king of a unified Norway. Was he a dark-skinned man? Now, those are the most fascinating pages of the chapter for me, but please read through this book yourself as you may see things that I missed. All right, here are a list of color-based names that either mean black or describe someone or something that is black or brown. So as it says here, Irish, Scottish and English names. These names all mean swarthy by being described as a dark complexion, black complexion and brown complexion. So let's start with the name Arthur, which means very black in Welsh. That makes you think about King Arthur. Bran, meaning roe or craven. I find that one interesting. Anyone who's watched Games of Thrones and knows the character Bran, he has that connection with the three-eyed raven, right? And he's traveling to find this raven. So I find it interesting that his name actually means crow or raven in Welsh. Brianna, little raven. Sierra, black dark in Irish and Gaelic. Kieran, small dark one. Kyron, small dark one. Same name, different spelling. Kerry, dark, little dark one, dark princess. Origin, Irish Gaelic. I had no idea that Kerry meant dark little princess. Blake, meaning black. To be honest, Blake also means white as well. I think it means like the absence of color. Kia, meaning black. You can see these two names at the bottom, one beginning with Don, one that starts with Don and one that starts with Dove. I'm not even going to try and say those names, but you can see they link to being dark and black, like we learned earlier. Duff means dark. Duana, dark maiden, pretty name. Dougal, dark stranger. Dolan, dark. Duncan, swarthy chief, as we already learned. Swarthy warrior. Feodorka, never heard of that name before, but that means dark man. Kerry, meaning dark. All right, let's look at some more. We've got Darcy, that means dark. Devin, fawn or little black one. Donovan, a little brown black one. Dwayne, I know a lot of black people called Dwayne. My cousin's called Dwayne actually. And that means little and dark in Irish and Gaelic. We've got Dun, as we learned, brown in Scottish. Dunham, dark-skinned man in Celtic. And you see with names like Dunham, that just means dark-skinned man. There's no ambiguity there. It literally means dark-skinned man. Got Fetchin, which means little raven. Ravens are black. Colby, meaning dark. Colton, meaning swarthy person or dark. Cole, meaning swarthy or black. Cronan, the swarthy one. Sturter, black swarthy one. Maurice. We will get to the whole more names that start with more, like Morley, Morrison. It already explains it itself, but we will get there eventually. But Maurice meaning dark swarthy in French. Maury meaning dark swarthy in French. Melanie, black, dark skin, no ambiguity there in German and Dutch. Morel, blackbird. Maguire, which means dun colored. We all know what dun means now, means black. Nigel, black, dark, night in English and Latin. Darcy, dark one in French. Dwyer, black in Irish Gaelic. Doyle, black stranger in Irish Gaelic. Donnelly, brown, black man, Irish Gaelic. Again, no ambiguity. Kieran, dark, dusky. And the list goes on. I actually got these pictures from a YouTuber called Straight Up, and he has put all of the sources where he found these names. But yeah, and I know a lot of people are going to come in the comments and say that it has other meanings, but of course it has other meanings, and things have developed now because we are so disconnected from the truth nowadays that we don't even know why we're doing certain stuff. And back in those days, I really doubt that these people or these parents name their children dark or black in a bad way, like them being dark spirited or had bad intentions. No, I just think these choices of names were given based on how the child physically looked or how the parent looked. There's other very obvious names where the name has been given because of where the person lives or what they do. For example, hill, rivers, castle, cross, wolf, banks. These names have practical meanings describing where people lived and what they did. And that makes sense. So why can't it make sense that if a person had a name that meant black or black person or described something black or swarthy, why can that not be a possibility? And of course, there are many people who must have been white and had dark hair or dark eyes and were named after those features. So, yes, I know, I'm not denying that. But again, why is the other possibility of them just simply being black always left out of the conversation? I don't know. But anyway, guys, Thank you so much for your support, and I'll be back with another video possibly next week or so. It does take me some time to research, put this together, edit it, and everything. But I'm going to try and get a video out every week. At least 2 a week is my aim. So watch out for that. Have a blessed week, guys.
Wonder.